Good morning, New Covenant Community Church. Today we're going to be looking at Psalm 21, and this psalm is a continuation of some of the content in Psalm 20, but we also see some parallels to language in other psalms about the king. So Psalms 45, Psalms 72. There are other royal psalms as well, Psalm 110, Psalm 2. But we're going to see this idea we're going to see a lot about royal kind of themes, kingship themes, but we're also going to see a discussion of God bringing judgment on his enemies. So we're going to see that God gives life to his king, the king that he has set up, and he judges those people who are opposed to that king. So this is a Psalm of David. So to the choir master, a Psalm of David. O Lord, so here we see the all caps Lord, which is the divine name Yahweh. O Lord, in your strength the king rejoices. So the king rejoices in the strength of God. We're going to see parallel ideas. That's just the sign for parallel. Um, the king, O Lord, in your strength the king rejoices, and in your salvation how greatly he exults. So the idea of rejoice and exult are parallel ideas. The strength of God, the salvation of God, parallel ideas. So they're both working on that kind of parallel idea. So this is, again, I won't point this out every time, but we've got a bicolon here where you've got cola A and cola B saying the same thing. You have given him, who is the him? It's the king. You've given the king his heart's desire and have not withheld the request of his lips. Selah. So what was the request of the lips? Well, he's going to say in verse 4 that he asked for life and you gave it to him. So this was the request of the king's lips. For you meet him with rich blessings. You set a crown of fine gold upon his head. So again, we're just seeing a bunch of parallelism here over and over again. He asked for life of you. You gave it to him. Length of days forever and ever. So again, parallel ideas, right? There's a correspondence of line. The king asked for this. You gave him length of days forever and ever. And here, I mean, as we think about that forever and ever, we've got some exaggeration or hyperbole working. If you were at that class that we did on Hebrew poetry, and we talked about the way that Hebrew poetry works, exaggeration is a feature of it. Just like in all poetry, right? It's going to say things like, my heart skips a beat, right? We know that that's not physiologically exactly what's happening, but we're expressing an idea. But here, there could be two things working. One, God has given the king long life, but also that Davidic covenant where God has promised that he's going to always have an heir to sit on the throne. His glory is great through your salvation. So the king's glory is great through the salvation that God provides. Splendor and majesty you bestow upon him. For you make him most blessed forever. You make him glad with the joy of your presence. So this is just a theme that we've seen over and over again. You see David saying things like, in other psalms, better is one day in your courts than 1,000 days elsewhere. The presence of the king, the presence of the people in the courts of the Lord, in the tabernacle during the time of David as he's preparing the instructions for the temple that Solomon is later going to build, as we would read in First Chronicles, and that temple that Solomon builds and that then is supposed to be the center of life for Israel. That represents God's dwelling presence, right? The tabernacle, when God in Exodus 25 through 40 instructed Moses how to build the tabernacle and what it is, he refers to it continually as his dwelling place. So you can see that in texts like Exodus 25. And then you can also see in texts like 1 Kings 6, when Solomon prays, he says, the heavens and the highest heavens don't contain you, but God's presence, according to a text like Deuteronomy 12, he has set his name to dwell among his people. And he has set it and he's chosen it to be on Mount Zion, which is a mountain that's in Jerusalem, which is where the temple is. For the king trusts in the Lord. So that's again the divine name, Yahweh. The king trusts in the Lord, and through the steadfast love of the Most High, he will not be moved. So the king trusts. What does it look like to trust? not be moved. What is his trust in? Better to say, who is his trust in? The Lord. And then what? The steadfast love of the Lord, right? So your hand will find out your enemies. Your right hand will find out those who hate you. So it takes a little bit of a shift here, right? So God is with the king, but God is against the enemies. He's going to find them out. His right hand is going to find out those who hate the Lord. You will make them a blazing oven when you appear. The Lord will swallow them up in his wrath, and fire will consume them. So the enemies will be judged. I mean, you just see the judgment of the enemies. You will destroy their descendants from the earth. So what kind of destruction? Well, complete, even so much so that their offspring, their descendants, their offspring from among the children of man. Though they plan evil against you. So we see Psalm 2 language here, right? Psalm 2, where the nations, the kings of the earth, set themselves and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed. They plan evil against the Lord, right? They devise mischief. Again, we've got parallelism in almost every line in the psalm. They will not succeed. So they're not going to be successful. Why aren't they going to be successful? Well, because of the Lord, right? Because it's the Lord. For you will put them to flight, and you will aim at their faces with your bows. So you're gonna shoot them in the face with arrows, is really what this is saying. It's saying God's not going to miss the mark. God's going to hit his target when he judges. And it's using kind of our warfare language, but it's using that to convey the way in which God will dispatch his enemies. Be exalted. So we've seen that language, if you remember, right? The king exults, right? Be exalted, O Lord, in your strength. We will sing and praise your power. So God has power to sustain his king, and certainly his people, though that wasn't the point of the psalm. And God has power to defeat the enemies of the king and his enemies. Why? Because God is powerful. God is powerful. God is the ultimate king, but God has placed his king over his people, and his king will not be moved. And his king, ultimately, finally, and fully, is the Son of David, Jesus Christ, our Lord. I hope that we can rest in him today.